What's up, guys? Welcome back to Life Unfiltered with Joe. Now, I struggled to get here today, so I'm using this out as my outlet today, as my place to just kind of release, because I've had a really bad weekend, actually, and that's kind of what inspired me to do this podcast, to have this topic that we're going to talk about today. However, before we get started, I want to let you guys know that I have figured out how to create a Google Docs form where you can submit answers anonymously. So before we get into this podcast, there is a link in the description box, and it's a Google Docs, and it says, "Tell me a secret." So what I want you guys to do is pause this episode, click on the link, submit a secret of yours anonymously that I can read on this podcast. Now, I've seen this done on past podcasts, and they're really funny. They're really fun. The best thing about it is I don't know who it comes from. Other people that are going to listen to this podcast don't know who it's from. So go ahead and get that secret off your chest. Pause this podcast. Go submit it in the Google Docs form, and then wait for it. And on the next podcast recorded, wait to hear it in the future. I don't know how long it will be until I read those secrets off or whatnot, but pause this, do that, and we will get back with you after this beat. All right, I can't wait to read your guys' secrets. I'm really excited for that episode. And the best thing is you can get it off your chest and nobody knows who it's from. So, housekeeping things today. If you're watching the video, I am reviewing this little candle warmer. Now, why have a candle warmer versus just lighting your candles, right? Okay, let me tell you. So, I buy Bath and Body Works candles, and those things are like $25 a candle. It's such a waste of money. I do kind of only light them when I want to have a good vibe, or I light them sparingly, or I wait until they have a semi-annual sale. However, when you get to the bottom of your candle, the wicks don't work anymore and you can't light them, and you still have candle left. And that always has irritated me. So I bought this candle warmer. So after I get to that point in my candle, I can put it on the candle warmer and it still smells good. Now, it seems kind of silly, a pointless object to buy. However, when you spend $25 on a candle and you love candles and you don't want any of it to go to waste, you buy it for $8.99 off of Amazon with my link below. So I know earlier before the intro beat, it was kind of a small intro. It was very, very short. But I did want to get into this podcast. I wanted to get you guys to hurry up and submit that secret on the Google Docs forms. And the reason why I wanted to get into this podcast is because I'm in a bad mood. I really am in a bad mood. And it really inspired me to do this podcast because this bad mood is not for just no reason. So today we're going to be talking about PMDD, what that is, what the diagnosis is, what the side effects are, or not the side effects, but the I don't even know, the symptoms. There we go. I couldn't even think. The symptoms of that, so on and so forth. So let me back this up. So growing up, I would always struggle with quote unquote anxiety or depression or these things, and I would go to the doctor. I would go to a psychiatrist, psychologist, whatever, and I would always get diagnosed with anxiety disorder or depression disorder. And it wasn't until I got older till I really got in tune with my body, and I was thinking, I think I've been getting misdiagnosed. I don't think I have this. And so then I started, because I didn't have these symptoms all the time. I only had anxiety or depression or sleepiness only certain times during the month. So I started to record when am I so tired? When am I having fights with friends? When am I feeling lonely? When am I feeling unworthy? And I started marking them on a calendar. So I did this for about a year, and I looked back over the days of when I've marked these symptoms down, and I noticed that all my symptoms happened 10 days before my period. Now, what did these symptoms look like for me? Well, these symptoms made me feel like I was all alone, like I had no friends. I felt lonely. I felt worthless. If I didn't know any better, I would say I'm pregnant every single month because of how tired I am, because it's happening this month, and this is kind of like why I'm in a bad mood. But I literally feel so tired to the point where I could sleep 14 hours a day and still be tired. I'm just drained. And anyone who's been pregnant before, they know what that sleepiness feels like. However, I'm not pregnant, and good thing, but I never thought I was pregnant. But what I'm trying to get at is PMDD and these symptoms make you feel all these symptoms so like full force, blown up in your face, that you feel this way. So anywho, I marked down all my symptoms, and I noticed it was like 10 days prior to my period every month. So I went into my doctor and I said, hey, listen, these are when my symptoms are occurring. And I did some research, and I was like, I think I might have PMDD. So she gave me like this little quiz. I answered all her questions, and she was like, yeah, like I am 100% diagnosing you with PMDD. And that stands for premenstrual dysphoric disorder. Now, she diagnosed this, and it's oftentimes misdiagnosed, which is what I was talking about earlier. It's often misdiagnosed as actually bipolar disorder, depression, or anxiety. And that's scary because someone could go out there, get misdiagnosed because their doctor doesn't want to look at their symptoms and the time frames that they're having them, and get diagnosed with bipolar disorder, which is a lifelong diagnosis, get the wrong treatment, think that they have this issue, and all along, it's not even bipolar disorder. So PMDD, premenstrual dysphoric disorder, is actually kind of new in today's world. So it's actually considered a mental disorder, but it didn't become that, and people didn't become aware, or it didn't get published in the DSM-5 until 2013. So prior to 2013, there has been so many misdiagnoses. Nobody wanted to look into what PMDD was, how it affects women, so on and so forth. So starting in 2013, in April is now the PMDD Awareness Month. And I wanted to bring you guys awareness about what that is. If you knew someone who could potentially have this, if you think that you might potentially have this, talk to your doctor, speak up, advocate for yourself, because it's not fun. So as I was experiencing these symptoms, I would also record, when would I fight with my son or my friends or my family? Like, when was I really irritable? And again, all these fights that I might have with the people who I'm involved with would happen in this PMDD time frame, which can occur, I would say, between 10 to 12 to 7, well, I said that backwards, 12, 10 to 7 days before your period. So I'd have these fights with the people that I'm surrounded with, and it would happen in this time period. So this month, I wasn't paying attention to the calendar, and I got extremely, extremely tired, sleeping 10 to 12 hours a day, taking naps when I have the chance, feeling very lonely, feeling very isolated, very irritable with my 3-year-old, feeling like I don't even want to play, I don't want to do anything. And sure enough, I looked at my calendar and I was like, oh, yep, PMDD week. Awesome. So since then, since I've been diagnosed, there are options to help this diagnosis. And you are given like an antidepressant or anti-anxiety medication. But what's different about these is you're prescribed a kind that you only take 10 days before your period. So you only take it in those specific PMDD days. And then you stop taking it because the symptoms go away. But anywho, it's very disabling. It's a weight. It's a weight on the person's shoulders, whoever may have this, and it affects every part of their life. Now, diving deeper, this is actually considered a cellular genetic malfunction. So what that means is when in a woman, when their hormones shift because of her period, her brain and her body, the cellular genetic function, it cannot respond properly to those hormones changing. So in regular, or not regular, but like women who don't have PMDD, their hormones change, their body may become a little moody, just regular PMS, and then they're good to go. But with people who have PMDD, hormones change, their body, their cellular genetic malfunction, their brain kind of freaks out and says, what are you doing? I don't know how to handle this. Now I'm going to freak out. I need to go to sleep to avoid these symptoms. I'm going to have anxiety because of what's happening to my body. I'm depressed. I'm alone. Your body kind of freaks out because it can't manage those hormones changing. And I thought that was really interesting. And I wanted to bring awareness to this because oftentimes men, if you're listening to this, you might have a girlfriend or a wife, fiance, daughter, friend, cousin, whatever, and they might be like, oh, I'm really moody because of my period and whatever. And men, a lot of times you'll be like, well, you can't use that for an excuse all the time, or you're just using that for an excuse, or you can control that. And the honest truth is, if this person you're speaking to has PMDD, their body and their genetic malfunction scientifically cannot respond properly to their hormone changes, meaning their moodiness, their irritability, their sleepiness, all of the above is out of their control. Meaning you're treating them as if they're using it as an excuse, and they're looking at you like, wow, you think this is awful. Think about if you had to live with it. And this malfunction, it's not their fault. Maybe be a little bit more aware of what PMDD is, get more knowledge, and even encourage her like, hey, maybe we should go see a doctor to get you diagnosed with this so we can get you medication that helps you, which in turn helps our relationship, helps our friendship, helps your people at work, your job, whatever that is. So, and I gear that towards men just because obviously I'm sorry, guys, or however you identify, you don't have a period, therefore you don't understand what it feels like or what these hormone changes feel like. So just be aware. So another reason why I wanted to bring awareness to this is because since it's so misdiagnosed, there's a lot of data that's being missed. There's a lot of data that is just now recently being properly recorded. And since we have been properly recording PMDD, 15% of those diagnosed with PMDD have attempted suicide. Now, it's only 15%. However, I think the statistics say only 5% of women have this. So of that 5%, 15% of them committed suicide. That's a lot if there's only 5% in the entire population. So suicide is something that's a nationwide thing. It's growing, it's becoming more common. And if we can see that PMDD may be a reasoning to someone committing suicide, let's dive deeper into that issue so we can prevent these suicide attempts. And also, knowing this statistic of 15% of those with PMDD have attempted suicide goes to show that this is a severe and chronic mental disorder that needs to be taken seriously. Women need to get help on this disorder because it can cause you to do irrational things. Now, I was reading this article. I don't know what the article was. I didn't write it down, but there's a very, very, very small percentage of the people who have PMDD that go as far as making the irrational decisions to maybe like abuse their kids or do something very, very significant like that. And it makes me so sad to think about because this is a mental issue that is just now getting noticed, and it's affecting people's lives to the extent where they may take it out on their kids. Now, I could never do that to my son. However, when I do have PMDD, I do notice I am very short with him. I don't have a lot of patience. I'm very tired. So now that I'm tired, like I just kind of want to sleep, but I can't. I have to be up. I have to be a mom. So I could see where if a person was unaware of what's happening to them, or if they had it so severe that they could do that. I just wanted to make my followers know that my son is not in danger. That's not happening to him. But I could see where that could happen to somebody, right? Everyone is different. And so we need to make this more of an awareness. We need to make women know that they need to go advocate for themselves, question their doctor, question their symptoms, so they can get the help that they deserve. Because I don't want women who are listening to this to continue to suffer, continue to not understand why randomly out of the month you are off the walls, continue to be a statistic of that 15% that may have tried to commit suicide, because this is very, very important. Now, so I'm going to read off some symptoms. Now, me reading off the symptoms is not for you to diagnose yourself. I just want to get that straight. You can take note and then bring it to your doctor and maybe ask him or her, is there a chance I have PMDD? So some of the symptoms may be, but are not limited to, severe irritability, lack of control, agitation, anger, severe fatigue, emotional sensitivity, crying spells, moodiness, backaches, bloating, acne, dizziness, easily bruising, low sex drive, etc. Now, some of these I didn't even realize played a part into my PMDD until after I got diagnosed. For example, anyone who knows me knows I bruise even if a fly lands on me. Dizziness is very, very common for me. I've dealt with it for a long time, and I just thought that's how my body was. But oftentimes when I stand up from a chair, a couch, the bed, I have to close my eyes and allow my body to get back grounded because I'm always dizzy. Emotional sensitivity, like I said, I've always felt like my friends don't care about me, or they are mad at me or something, and I'm very sensitive to that towards this period of my month. And then backaches. I've never really had cramps before my period, but I noticed my back always hurt, and I thought it was just like back cramps. Severe fatigue, which I've mentioned, and crying spells. So crying spells was kind of like my biggest indicator before getting officially diagnosed, because I would go like hours just crying, and one little thing would happen and I would want to bawl my eyes about it, like because of what happened. And I was like, I don't know what's wrong. I shouldn't be this upset about this subject or topic or whatever it is, but I am. And I would always tell myself my feelings are valid, which they were valid, but they were a little bit out of control. And so I would have these crying spells for hours. And it would not make it fun for the people around me. Like, I was so caught up in these emotions that I thought, like, everyone else was being irrational. But then as soon as my PMDD days ran up and I started my period and my hormones were back to normal, I would reflect on those situations and I'd be like, yeah, no, that was very uncalled for. That was very dramatic. Like, I think something's wrong. So crying spells was a very big indicator for me. So this past weekend, another thing was that kind of set me off was I'm in my PMDD week. And then for whatever reason, this past weekend, like, none of my friends reached out to me. And I get it. People have lives. My friends have lives. But when it happens during a PMDD week, I get very, very emotional. I think I don't have any friends. My friends aren't good to me. Blah, 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 blah. I start spiraling. And then I have to remember to, 1, take my medication. 2, remind myself it's during my PMDD week. Like, your emotions are probably extreme. And then 3, I need to force myself to do things that make me happy even when I don't want to because I'm in such a bad mood, aka why I decided to do this podcast today. So that happened to me this past weekend. But anywho, I know I'm rambling today about this issue and this mental diagnosis, but I wanted to make whoever's listening aware that PMDD is a real thing. It's chronic. It affects lives, but it's treatable. I don't think it's curable, but it is treatable. So bring it to your doctor's attention, him or her awareness. Start recording when you're having these emotions so you can make sure that it's in line with those PMDD days, which is 12 to 10 to 7 days before your period. And advocate for yourself because it's not something that is really talked about right now yet. People are just becoming aware of what it is because it's been previously misdiagnosed as bipolar anxiety or depression disorder. So advocate for yourself, advocate for someone else if you think they have it. Bring it to the awareness in a proper way, obviously, and also just show sensitivity to those going through it. Show that you are emotionally available for them when they're having a hard time. Show that you care. During those PMDD weeks, friends, family, whoever, the person who's going through that needs you guys more than anything because mentally they cannot help that their body isn't reacting to the hormone changes, and it's not their fault. It's not something that they can change overnight. So be there for them in any way that you can to help them through those 10 days in a month that they have to go through every single month. But anyways, this made me in a little bit better mood. It got me productive. It got me from sleeping. So I appreciate you guys. I'm sorry that I look terrible today if you're watching the video. I literally look like I'm dead and I just crawled out of bed. But I'm hoping you guys won't judge me. So I will talk to you guys next week. Have a good Saturday. And please rate, subscribe, share, comment, whatever. Tell me a secret in the link below so I can read your guys' secrets, make it an interesting podcast. And you guys have a good day.